Hello, friends. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer. Mashed potato!
Here it comes.
Now, Druids, let's face it, nobody chooses to play from the rough. And thanks to our great new friends at Manscaped, maybe our listeners might never have to again, because the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and I can tell you with all confidence, it's been a game changer for me these past few weeks. The ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Let's go through the Performance Package. It includes the Weed Whacker, up the nose, in the ears, increasingly relevant for people like me as the ears start to pile on. Never used something like the Crop Preserver before, but I'll never go back. A ball deodorant, straight out of the shower, dry yourself off, whack a little bit of this on the undercarriage, last the full day. Outstanding. The Crop Reviver, it's more of a, maybe you need a midday refresh. You've gone for a run at lunchtime, you've had a gym session, maybe you've just been hauling boxes in a bloody humid environment. A little bit of a spritz on the undercarriage, fresh as a daisy moving forward. And then finally, but most importantly, Druids, the best piece of kit in this Performance Pack 4.0, it is the Lawn Mower 4.0 trimmer. Have a listen to this. Music to my ears. This bit of kit, my friend, will transform your situation below the waist from looking like the second cut of rough at a US Open to a neatly trimmed fairway. Now, even better, Manscaped have thrown in 2 free gifts to the Performance Package. They are, have a look at these, the Manscaped boxes, outstanding. For those of you never have enough pairs. And of course, the Shed travel bag. You can neatly tuck everything away and take it on the road with you. Now, you can join over 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer just for our listeners. 20% off, free worldwide shipping with the code T. That's TEE. That's 20% off, free shipping all over the world at manscaped.com and use the code TEE. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for this incredibly important job with Manscaped. Trust me, fellas, your balls will thank you.
This is the 19th Tee podcast. Drew's with you for tonight's episode with Tim Hart. But before we get there, of course, we must acknowledge Minjee Lee. What an incredible victory. I'm going to do it justice, I hope, in a couple of minutes up the front here. I have sent the link to K Marsh. Now, he is away for work in the middle of Europe somewhere, I believe. I can't remember exactly where he is. So he may drop in for a minute. I don't know. We're doing this on a bit of a whim here. If not, you'll get a couple of minutes at the top with myself. So if I do see that little Kieran Marsh wants to join the meeting request, then that'll be great. So I'll pop that up. But Minjee Lee, the very, very height of her game, wins the US Open, joining a very exclusive company. She joins only Kari Webb, Jan Stevenson, Peter Thompson, David Graham, and Greg Norman as the only Aussies to win multiple majors, and what an incredible performance it was, really, with the irons. I mean, if you look at her stats across the 4 days, she ended up hitting 57 out of 72 greens, which is truly phenomenal. And you know, she's just such a beacon of shining light for Australian golf at the moment, and there was no doubt that she was one of the leading contenders to win a major. I'm sure Marshy will drop in because, you know, he'd love to sit here and gloat that he said that she was our best chance to win a major, and sure enough, here she is. Went into today with a 3-shot lead, I believe, out there at Pine Needles, and yeah, pretty quickly pushed that out. Started birdie and handed a couple of shots back. I mean, she was 13 under par through 15 holes, sorry. And then I thought, geez, I don't know. I've had bad memories of the Shark. I've had bad memories of Cameron Smith at the Masters. But fortunately, fortunately it wasn't to be. And she did bogey 16 and 18. So she has been, she's been so consistent throughout the course of the year. Of course, the Evian was her maiden major last year. And to add the US Open, she was quite humble in victory, as we would expect from Minjee. And I think even shocked herself a little, as I said, sort of, it seemed inevitable, but the bogeys on 16 and 18 just brought it back a little tighter than I would have liked. But nonetheless, she was the victor of the US Open over Mina Harage, who in her own right played very, very nicely. If we can just look at some of Minjee's statistics here across the course of the week, I mean, 47 out of 56 fairways hit, including in rounds 2 and 3, 13 out of 14. So just pure ball striking with the driver and 3 woods and the longer clubs, as well as the irons. As I mentioned, 57 out of 72. Putting, it's probably been the one thing that maybe kind of let her down across, some of her, I guess the last few months of her career anyway. She had 34 putts today, 29 in round 1, but 27 and 28 across rounds 2 and 3. And as I say that, Kieran Marsh has entered the waiting room. So we're going to admit him. We're going to do this live on the show. We've got no idea how this is possibly going to work for our listeners or our audio listeners. I don't know if Kieran Marsh can hear me. I'll give him a minute here. Marsh, here he is. I don't know where he is.
Have you got me?
And we've got you, KM. Firstly, welcome. Maybe you could give us an update as to where the bloody hell you are, and then we'll get to Minjee Lee in just a second. But where are you, KM?
Dialing in from Central Europe, Droots. I'm currently in the southern part of Slovakia. And look, to your credit, you said to me, obviously I'm on assignment here work-wise, and you said, look, mate, take a few weeks off, concentrate on work. I'll look after things. And then an Aussie go and wins a bloody major. How about that?
And I was just saying to the listeners, in the hope that you would join us, because I was very quickly running out of things to talk about. I'd rattled off all the stats I had. I was saying I wouldn't be at all surprised if you did decide to jump on, because you have had Minjee Lee tipped for past 3-4 months as saying she's the best chance for an Aussie to win a major, and it would be unlike you to miss an opportunity to jump on and tell us how good your fortune telling skills are. So I'll give you the time you deserve here.
Well, I was just about to say, if you thought I was going to let you bask in the glory of Minjee Lee's major victory on your own, you had another thing coming. So I thank the wonders of the internet for connecting us, the west coast of Australia to Central Europe. But yeah, Drew, I'm sure you've rattled it all off. Obviously, second major championship for Minjee, the one that she's always dreamed of. And she said that herself, I think, since the age of 13. She's dreamed of winning this tournament. Obviously, a tournament won a number of times by her idol and her hero, and Kari Webb. I know, I'm sure you've said lowest ever score to par in the tournament, which makes it even more remarkable when you think she was even through the final round. So she did all the work through 54 holes and did all that she needed to do in that final round there at Pine Needles. But to win by 4 strokes, comfortably the best player there across the last 4 days. And as you said, I've been saying it for a while now, but comfortably the best Australian player we have in world golf at present. There's no doubt about that now.
And takes home 1.8 million as well, if you don't mind. I mean, I don't think that should be overshadowed, particularly from a it's fantastic that, she's earned this massive paycheck, but $10 million was up for grabs in the US Open. And I guess it's, this is now the launching pad, I guess, for women's golf in terms of moving forward. So it shouldn't be overlooked that she's taking home this paycheck as well.
I think it's a really good point. I think that, there's no secret that they astronomically rose that paycheck, the $10 million for the first time at the Women's US Open, and what a time for her to take it home. Obviously, $1.8 million is not necessarily par for the course each week on the men's tour, but it's not the biggest purse by any stretch of the imagination. It's life-changing on the LPGA tour, and for Minjee in particular, that's a significant payday. I think more broadly, Drews, obviously watched a fair bit of it across the first few days before getting on a plane on Saturday evening, Australian time. And I just think the way they did the entire tournament, first and foremost, taking it to a course like Pine Needles, which to be fair is hosted the most US Women's Open in the tournament's history, but taking it back to a quality course. They had live from every day, which is, again, bringing it to parity with the men's. the increased paycheck. I just thought it was a wonderful tournament from go to woe, and I think made even more special for us that an Australian takes it home. But just the last 4 days of women's golf, I think, have been excellent. And what it now does, to be fair, is set the standard. So moving forward, obviously not every tournament is like this from a paycheck perspective, but we've got some excellent courses coming up on the rotor for women's majors. And I think from a broadcast Golf Channel, to their credit, have set the standard now for what's to come.
And something really special about it as well happening at the same site where Kari Webb won her second consecutive US Women's Open 21 years ago as well. So I don't know, it all just came together and fit really nicely for Minjee Lee as well. So that's a nice little.
Yes. Should we be surprised? Should we be surprised? Really?
Maybe, I don't know. Hey, I was going to ask you a question because you probably caught more of this in a much friendlier time zone than I did over here in Perth, and I've obviously been dealing with the effects of COVID-19 as well, which has been quite a lot of fun. But I mentioned it got a little closer than I would have liked watching in the wee hours of this morning. It seemed inevitable at 13 under after 15 holes that it seemed inevitable from the very beginning that she was going to win. She went in with 3 shots. Mina Harage was obviously playing solid golf. She only made 1 birdie for the day and a couple of bogeys, unfortunately for her. But the bogeys on 16 and 18 for Minjee, I don't know, I started to get really nervous because I've seen the story a lot with Aussie golfers as well. And I feel that's a bit unjust to poor Minjee.
Oh, look, I think anytime you're hitting 2 bogeys in the final 3 holes of a 4th round of a major, obviously people watching at home get a little nervous. The most recent example we didn't get that close with Cam at Augusta, but when you get the wobbles on the back 9 at a major winning contention, I think, rightfully so. I mean, as I said, she was the same score through 54 holes, which was a record for the lowest score to par through 54 holes in a Women's US Open. And she goes on to record the lowest ever score by getting it done with even par in the final round. So it was really up to the remainder of the field to bring the challenge to her, and they couldn't. And I think that a bit's been made of the course and a bit's been made of 13 under, and is that tough enough for a US Open? Don't lose sight of the fact that no one was within 4 strokes of her. So it's not as if the rest of the field, we didn't have a bunch of people 10 under or lower. We had one who was in complete control of the golf ball, save for a few instances across the 4 days, and has dominated the field and the course. So, yeah, very complete performance. I think we don't have a long list of Australian major winners, in most recent history. Hannah Green before her, and then, we make our way back to J-Day and Scotty themselves. And I think, to be fair, one of the more complete performances of an Aussie winning a major, in recent history. It was sublime from start to finish for Minjee, and given the run of form she's been in and the volume of work she's been putting together, just reward for what's been a sensational 18 months.
As I mentioned, sort of at the top before you jump on, only the 6th Aussie to win multiple majors as well, and certainly unsurprising that her name is on that list, both male and female. As you mentioned, some great sites coming up for the US Women's Open. We go to Pebble next year, which will be fantastic. Lancaster, Erin Hills is one I'm really looking forward to. Riv, Inverness, Oakmont, Pinehurst number 2. There's some bloody good courses coming up. But before we let you go, is there anything else that you want to give us from the wherever you said you're at, southern Slovakia? No, what's the golf scene like in southern Slovakia? Have you seen any? I know you're there for work, but have you seen any courses? Do they look pure?
I'm yet to see a course, so that should probably give you an indication of the golf scene in southern Slovakia. Yet to actually lay eyes on a fairway. Had a fair few people been wearing this hat around a little bit, but a number of people stopped me in the street. Didn't understand what they were saying, but lots of people interested in the 19th tee, unsurprisingly. I know I've got a few listeners in Slovakia, which is excellent. Look, not much else to report, Drew. Just finally on Minjee, not surprising, but worth making note of the reaction out of her brother this morning. Really nice to see. I think you won't find a bigger supporter of Minjee than her brother Min Woo, save for maybe her parents. And a lot of people excited about his future, obviously, but the way in which he heaps praise on his sister this morning across his social channels, I think was really nice to see. And to be fair, whilst he is getting a lot of headlines, I think the focus should be firmly on her. My excitement now lays on what's ahead for her, because she seems to stand up when the lights are shining their brightest, and particularly when the courses are challenging. You rattle off all those names of what's in the rotor coming up for women's majors, and I would expect her to be figuring in those tournaments because this is where she does her best work. So great to see the reaction from her brother, and wonderful to see. And then just briefly, I'm sure you'll probably touch on it. I know you got Timmy Hart waiting on the line there, so I don't want to hold him up. But a good weekend for Aussies. I mean, Quayle fourth on the Japanese tour, Trav Smythe a bogey on the 72nd hole on the Asian tour, just to fall short of his first professional win. So some great Aussie performances around the world.
Absolutely, mate. There's been the Pro-Am circuits going off as well. Very good timing that Tim Hart did win in country Queensland as well, and he does join us. So maybe we're their lucky charm. But we will let you get back to southern Slovakia. Maybe you can mention Rory Sabatini's name because he's a Slovakian golfer. I don't know how popular he is of a Slovakian golfer, so that might get you some brownie points. I know he's not that popular on the tour. What we should mention very, very briefly before we do go, because you must go to work, but the live field was announced. It'd be remiss of us not to mention it. Obviously, a number of Aussies in there. I think there was 4 or 5. Some that we knew that were going. And obviously the biggest story has been Dustin Johnson out of all of that. So I don't know if you want to give me 30 seconds very briefly. I'm sure we'll probably recap it a little more in depth once we get some finite understanding of what this all means from the tour's perspective anyway.
Yeah, I mean, very briefly, I'm probably not all that bothered or nearly as bothered as other people seem to be around DJ. DJ is never purported to be anything other than what he is. So it's not as if he's taken this massive regression. Obviously, I don't think he's helped in any way, shape or form from the statement he put out a short 2-3 months ago. But clearly, they met his number, and that's all he's ever purported to be. So let DJ be DJ. As for the 4 Aussies, I mean, it's game-changing money. It's $120,000 for last place, and you can't begrudge any of the 4 Australians who go there. My curiosity will be, obviously, the PGA Tour will step in now for those players who have status and who are choosing to go and play and live events. I'm really curious to see, say, someone like Jed, who doesn't yet have a place on the PGA Tour, what, if any, consequence this will have. Because obviously, when we spoke to him and as part of topping the order of merit, he's exempt through to the final stage of Corn Ferry Q School. So he obviously clearly wants to go and play in America. And what, if any, effect will this have? I think ultimately, Drudes, this is just the beginning. And I think you'd be naive to think it's not. This will be, I'm certain, the worst field they ever announce. It will only improve from here. And the real squeeze for the tour, I mean, if they bury their head in the sand now and do nothing, then in my eyes, they deserve everything coming their way, because the real squeeze for the tour isn't right now. It's probably 6, 8, 12 months from now, when all those guys in that tier, your Brysons, your Xanders, your Abraham Answers, your Harold Varners, all those guys who were rumoured and have not yet committed, as soon as they start seeing Taylor Gooch taking home $4 million to win a tournament, that will only last so long. Yeah. So this next 6 to 8 months is critical for the tour to act.
Well, it might not even be that long. It might even be shorter than that, because, if they do start seeing that money flying out, people will be making some interesting decisions. I think the interesting one for Jed is going to be around around the majors and what happens there, because obviously, of course, gets to start at Brookline at the US Open. So if the tour comes down hard on the players playing in there, I would suggest that there might be some players in there who have major status or major starts that might reconsider, but we shall flesh all that out at another time when you are back on local shores and rested and rejuvenated, because you've got a busy schedule coming up work-wise in the next couple of months as well. So there might be a few Marshy-less episodes, unfortunately, but we'll do our best to get you on as best we can, and noting that you've got a very busy work schedule. But we will get to Tim Hart in just a moment. We'll hear from yourself, KM, not right now, but pre-recorded. We'll hear a short read from our friends at Cobra Puma, and then we'll get to Tim Hart. But Marshy, we must thank you for joining us from Slovakia, and we truly appreciate you dialing in and making the technology work. So thanks, KM. And after you sign off, we'll get straight into Tim Hart.
Thanks, Drew. Ring the bloody bell.
The team at Cobra have introduced the new Air X franchise, the latest evolution of its popular lightweight club category. Continuing its focus on weight savings and forgiveness, Cobra's new Air X men's and women's drivers and fairways each boost an additional 8 grams of total weight savings. At just 277 grams, the Air X driver delivers a new level of lightweight performance to improve feel and maximize clubhead speed and distance for players like you and me, Druids, with just that moderate swing speed. Taking lightweight technology and super game improvement performance to a whole new level, the Air X driver and fairway woods are available right now. So for more information on the Air X range, you can visit cobragolf.com.au or drop into your nearest golf shop.
All right, Tim, thanks so much for joining us on the 19th tee, mate. Pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Where are you right now? You were telling me before you were in country Queensland. We weren't sure how the reception was going to turn out, but where the bloody hell are you?
Mate, I'm in Moranbah at the moment. It's about 2.5 hours from Mackay, if anyone knows where that is. Just up the coastline of Queensland, go west a couple of hours. And yeah, I'm out here playing some just some pro-ams at the moment for a couple of weeks.
How's the pro-am circuit going at the moment? Obviously, off the back of the PGA Tour of Australasia season into the pro-am, I guess, circuit.
Yeah, mate, it's pretty good up here in Queensland. They've done a pretty good job over the years of keeping events, even through COVID and all that. So yeah, this stint up here in the mining towns is always pretty good. I've been coming up here for a few years, so yeah, it's a nice place to come and play and be familiar with a few courses that I've played well at. So.
Probably a little different to, I guess, playing, at courses like the Nash throughout the year and then up into country Queensland. I imagine it's probably a little different.
Yeah, it is, mate. But like, I'm pretty used to it, to be honest. Since I've turned pro as 10 years ago, I've played a lot of pro-ams throughout the years, and I've always liked Queensland courses, even the country ones. They're sort of, they're pretty wide and forgiving with. Suits the longer hitters out here. So it's nice to come out here and just get the driver out every hole pretty much and give it a lash.
And I'm going through the results at the moment. I think you've probably been pretty sort of coy about your time out in country Queensland at the moment, because it looks like you might have had a fairly handy result, particularly over the weekend anyway.
Yeah, got a win yesterday. It was a 2-day event, which was nice. Got a couple of low scores, which was nice always. It's sort of a course that, like I was saying, I'm pretty familiar with, and I've played it a few times. And if you're sort of in control of the big dog, you can attack a lot of holes, and I managed to do that again for a couple of days.
And I guess there's some quite handy talent out there as well. There's guys who play on the tour week in, week out that are out there. Names that are jumping out at me on the leaderboard here, obviously Shea Wolves-Cobb and Doug Klein and the like. So a competitive field being assembled for the Pro-Am circuit as well. Yeah,
absolutely. Like I said, this first half of the year was pretty full on with tour events. So I think this year there's probably not as many players as there has been in years past. Probably just guys might be a little bit burnt out or whatnot from a very heavy sort of first 4 or 5 months of this season. But yeah, like I said, there's still good players up here that you got to play good. Doesn't matter where you are these days on any part of the planet. If you're not playing decent golf, you're not going to win. So yeah.
Well, let's get stuck into, I guess, the season that was. I mean, in your words, kind of how do you describe your 21-22 wraparound season, I guess, that exists at the moment? Because some nice results throughout there as well. Obviously highlighted with a T2 at the NT PGA as well. Handful of miscuts. Like, how do you sum it all up?
Good in the end. Yeah, I just to finish off with a nice result to keep my tour card was very nice. I knew what I had to do there to do that, and it was good to sort of bit under the pump to do that, and it was nice to finish that one off. Didn't get the win, obviously, but it was nice to have a high finish after a lot of just not good results, to be honest, for the first 4 months of the year. Like you said, a lot of miscuts, and just I was just battling a technical sort of fault in my swing. And when you're on the road, constantly playing, and in tournament conditions, it's very difficult to at times work out your swing, especially if you've got a motor padding going on in your swing that you're sort of fighting. And then you get on certain courses, say the Nash, where it's blowing 50 k's an hour, and you got to hit certain shots, and you're already not feeling comfortable over the ball, and then you got to hit these shots. But it just didn't work out for me for a lot of events. But yeah, like I said, it was good to finish on the last tournament and have a good finish and secure my spot for next year or this coming season.
I guess that the sort of the technical difference that you're talking about there, it's probably like 1%, right? In terms of what's, might not be clicking for those handful of missed cuts. Because I remember, obviously, I met you out at the Blitz Golf event out here at the WA Golf Club, and you're on the range with Lincoln Ty, and you were getting him to film you on the range. I think you were just hitting some 5-irons, and I thought you were hitting them beautifully, mate, just for whatever the record shows. Yeah. But you were clearly trying to work on something like as a tournament was about to start. Like, so I guess, when things aren't clicking as well as you'd like them to, you've got to find every opportunity to really try and turn it around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. To be honest, that was, you only saw that with Lincoln, but at every tournament I was sort of doing that, which wasn't just the day before or that, I was doing that. And I've been doing that for week on week on week. And that's not generally how I grew up playing, or I was always one to sort of just figure it out myself or can just sort of get through a tournament and then fix it pretty quick. But this certain move that I was just doing, from the top of my swing, I just couldn't figure it out. And like I said, during tournaments it makes it a bit harder. But yeah, it's I tried a few guys just saying, just let it go and just go play golf. And that's all well and good if you're, not backed up in your brain and you're sort of thinking a lot about your swing. But that didn't quite work out. But it's getting there now, and that's I can lead into the end of the year now with some good, hard, solid practice the next few months and start up again.
I guess, does it kind of compile in your head too? Because, obviously, as you mentioned, a handful of missed cuts over here in Perth, at the back end of the season, you've got to play well to keep your card for next year. And is it hard to not overthink it all when you're away from home? Obviously, you got your mates on the tour and whatever, but like, you're not with your coach, you're not, going through a really daily routine. You're on the road. Like, is it hard to just not build up in your head and just get fuck? Like, this is insane. Yeah,
mate. Yeah, it is. It's very hard. That's why you got to do your best to not worry about it, or especially when you're not at the course. Like I said, I grew up just I wasn't that guy that would, think about it too much. Or once I've done on the golf course, I can sort of switch off and, go to the gym or just do anything else that would keep my mind off it. But I found myself just the last 6 months, particularly, just thinking a lot more about it and probably just putting that added pressure on myself that I didn't need to do, which obviously in golf is not a good thing. And you want to be as relaxed as possible, after every shot and think about anything else rather than golf. But yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm on the back end of that now, and I've done some great work with Richard Woodhouse, my coach, especially in the last few weeks. I've been sending him some stuff, and I know I'm back on playing a few events, but it's good to shoot a few scores and see some progress.
Speaking of Lincoln, I did mention to him that you were jumping on tonight, and he just wanted. I said, "Have you got any stuff that might be worth getting stuck in a Tim about?" And all he sent to me, and this is a quote: "Just keep mentioning that I'm longer than him, and he's now the second longest on tour to me, and he should be happy if he could get within 10 meters of
within 10 meters." Is that what he said?
He did.
Oh, mate, I think everyone knows now he's at his heyday of being the long hitter. He's he's kidding himself.
What I would say is, it was a lot of talk for a bloke who I didn't actually see hit one shot over here in WA, because I think he pulled out of the Blitz event with a wrist injury, and then I don't know if he played WA Open even. He might have played the first couple of rounds anyway. So a lot of talk for a bloke who wasn't hitting many shots. Yeah,
I actually stayed with him WA Open week, and yeah, he hurt his finger or his wrist or something. I mean, it's us long hitters, we shouldn't be complaining about anything, but he's sort of taken that road. So
you mentioned at the top there a nice way to finish the season, which was the T2 up at NT, just behind Austin. Well, I mean, a few shots. He played quite nicely, but 4 rounds in the 60s for yourself as well, finishing alongside Ben and just ahead of Aaron Pike as well, last year's winner. So I guess it must give you a great deal of confidence moving forward into 22, 23 to have a good result like that on tour. And, I'm sure it's frustrating that you weren't lifting the trophy, but T2 is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah, to be honest, mate, it wasn't a week where I felt at all in control of my swing. I sort of just, I don't know what it was, but I just felt like something was sort of helping me get through that week and to give me that result to push forward from there. I think I wanted it that bad that it's sort of, I wouldn't take no for an answer on the course, and I just kept pushing and pushing through. And yeah, it was nice to just be in that position again. I know I wasn't sort of contending for the title with Austin just playing so well those last few rounds, and even I only made the cut by a shot, and then had a good weekend to sort of sneak into that tied second. So but it was a good way to just finish the season, as I said, and just go forward from there.
I mean, we've been talking for about 15 minutes now, and we normally start with the question, where did golf begin for you? So we may as well go back there 15 minutes later. Where did golf start for you, Tim? What's sort of your first recollections of the game?
First recollection would be I lived at Tamworth, which is country New South Wales, as a young kid, and my older brother plays as well. So I think I was about 12 years old when he took me down the club one day, and then just pretty much like everyone else, I feel, just got hooked pretty quickly. I played a few other sports, soccer and cricket and basketball and all that, but golf took a front running pretty quickly within the first year. And yeah, I was sort of just from there. I was down there all the time. Sort of school, the high school was right next to the golf course, so I was there before school, after school, whenever I could be. Probably during some classes as well. Shouldn't have been, but yeah.
I mean, you're a big fella, right? Like, were you a big sort of like teenager as well? Because golf's not the most attractive game, right? Like, let's be honest. So you're playing football, I guess maybe some sort of central defender or something is where I'm picturing you lining up.
Mate, I was the smallest bloke in primary and high school. I was
Is that right?
50 kilos, wringing wet. And I had never seen a gym, didn't know what one was. I sort of just hit a growth spurt, I guess, in year 12, I think. And then, I just sort of started putting the weight on early 20s and started, going to the gym. To be honest, that was the big thing. And that's now become a lifestyle. It's just something I have to do every day to feel good. And, just put the weight on that way.
So golf was always the front runner, I guess, for you to kind of make a career out of it. Did you know, I guess, growing up in Tamworth that you could make money out of golf, or were you sort of at that age just, hey, this is something fun to do?
No, that was I sort of probably when I hit about 15, I got to scratch pretty quickly. I'm not sure when, maybe when I was 15, and I was sort of winning a lot of stuff as a junior, and I just felt like that's what I wanted to do, it's a good thing, I feel, to know what you want to do that early in life, or to have that goal, or something to look forward to. Like, people still don't know what they want to do, in their mid-30s. So it's good to get that feel that early on in life and go from there. So
What's the golf like out in Tamworth?
It's not too bad, actually. They've got two courses out there. One's a Greg Norman design course. It's called the Long Yard. It's like a links type course. It's actually a pretty good track. And country Tamworth in the middle of the city there. It's a pretty good course too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay, there you go. I did not expect Tamworth to have two courses, but that's a nice surprise. So what's your sort of next step after there? I guess you said you get to scratch at about 15. You got a few other sports on the go. I guess you have to let them go by the wayside and focus on golf at some point. So what's sort of the next progression in your life from there? So
I was just playing all the sort of state junior events. So the Jack Newton junior golf events, played all those for a couple of years, managed to get in the state team, the junior state team with Lincoln. Actually, that's probably where I met him when I was about 15. And a few of the other boys. And from there it was just state team stuff and a few Aussie teams. And I sort of just hung around Australia from there for 3 or 4 years, just playing all the events here, trying to, learn the craft a bit better and Yeah, I think I turned pro at 22. So I didn't go to college or anything in America. That's probably, I don't live with regrets, but that's probably one thing I think I probably would do looking back, just to give yourself that backing, and then probably a few more opportunities coming out of college rather than staying here in Australia.
Were there offers on the table at all?
I did have a few offers on the table when I was 18. But I, to be honest, I didn't really look too much into it at the time. I was sort of focused. Just I'm a bit introverted as well, so I was probably a bit, going overseas at such a young age and just packing up your life and leaving wasn't really, something I was too, wanted to do. But anyway.
And I guess if you're probably sneaking out of some classes to head over to the golf club, you probably don't want to add more school to the other end of your life anyway.
Correct. It wasn't really something that I was too, into. Maths was probably the only thing I was interested in. Everything else was no thanks.
What was 15-year-old Lincoln like? Because he's hung a bit of shit on you at the start there. Maybe you can return serve.
He was probably heavier back then, to be honest. No, he was a good bloke. He still is a good bloke. He's one of my best mates. He was a very, very intimidating sort of junior, one of the bigger guys, and he was obviously the longest hitter back then as well. But yeah, I've been good mates with him since I've been 15.
It's interesting you bring up length there. Is length something that you've always had in your game, or did it kind of come after that growth spurt when you were, year 12 and the gym?
Yeah, no, it's definitely come after the growth spurt as well. As a junior and an amateur, to be fair, I didn't hit it far at all. So hit it a lot straighter back then. It's a very good skill to have if you can sort of hit the long ball over, and if you're in control at the time, and you can sort of take on a lot of courses, which give you a lot more opportunities, obviously, if you're feeling good.
What are the challenges, I guess, of country growing up, or growing up in the regions? I guess, if you live in the city, there's obviously heaps of opportunity for you to get on the really prestigious tracks. If you've got a bit of talent around you, I'm talking, but, is there how much harder is it, I guess, coming from Tamworth or any of those regional areas to, I guess, maybe break into some of the state teams or have some of the opportunities that the city kids have, pretty regularly?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really thought about that too much, but just thinking back on it, it was probably a bit more difficult being a country bloke, as just probably from the travel, going to either, Sydney or Brisbane were both 6 hours away to play events, or, wherever it would be. So that's probably only the biggest hurdle. I think talent speaks for itself, though. If you're shooting good scores or whatever, you'll reap the rewards from that. So I don't see it was too much of a hurdle to get over. You
were 22 when you turned pro, you said?
I think like so, that? Yeah. 22 or 23, yeah. So what's kind of the decision-making process there? I mean, who'd you consult? Who did you tap on the shoulder and say, hey, do you reckon I'm doing the right thing? Or was that, you mentioned you're quite an introverted person. Is that something you sort of took on yourself, or how did that decision come about? Yeah, it was more just on a whim, to be honest. I think I qualified for the New South Wales Open. That was my first event. It must have been 2012, I believe, and just pre-qualified as an amateur. And then I was like, I may as well turn pro now. I've got Q school in a couple of weeks. Just thinking as a decent amateur, you can just go and get your card and everything will be sweet. It's just the way you sort of think growing up, and just wasn't the case. So I think I turned pro and then made the cut and thought, this is pretty easy. And then actually had a bad week at Q school, and next thing I had nothing, and I was just sort of in no man's land, just pre-qualifying for every state open or what it was on that year. And then didn't have a good year at all, obviously, because you're behind the eight ball before you even start. And then I actually did a year of a traineeship for 1 year, and that was 2013. So I did 1 year of that, but even 6 months into that, it wasn't my sort of thing. I don't know what that decision was. I think it was based probably off that one bad year of not playing well straight up, and then sort of telling myself I might need a backup in case it doesn't work out. But a few months in, I was not not a big fan of sitting in the pro shop, not playing golf. So it was a 1 year thing, and then back out on, and then managed to get my tour card the next year and go from there.
You had a really good season in 2016. I'm just looking back at your results here. I think you had maybe 4 or 5 top 10s and a outright second place, I think, at the Queensland PGA. I mean, things starting to click in the right direction, I guess, after a few years of being a pro. Maybe if you can recall 2016 for us.
Yeah, 2016 was a good year. I had a couple of high finishes there, and the Queensland PGA as well. Had a chance to win that one, but it didn't quite work out my way. But the whole year was good. It's the same thing. It just comes down to, I guess I'll just put the time in, and for me, if I feel comfortable over the ball, I know it's stupid as it sounds, but if I feel comfortable with a certain swing feel or a thought, then I believe I can shoot pretty much any number. You know, I can go really low and sort of nothing, sort of no cloudiness in my thought process when I'm on course, and that's obviously where everyone would like to be all the time. It's not, you know, it's a very hard place to get to, but if you are in that place and you've felt that, it's a good feeling, and you obviously want more of that. So that's why we keep going and do the work to try and get back there.
Is there something when you say mid-round and you know things aren't clicking right? Have you got something that you can kind of fall back on, whether it's a piece of advice that someone's given you, or you know, breathing technique, or just anything like that you can kind of fall back on at all?
Yeah, mate. These days, it is a breathing technique for me. Back when I was a bit younger, I wouldn't have been thinking about much at all. I would have just sort of been getting angry and, you know, just thinking, why did I do that, or whatnot. But as you grow up and just learn more about the game and mature, and you know, more about yourself as well. I think the breathing technique that I do use on course, I do it pretty much every hole. When I've got a spare moment or whatever, I'll be aware of my breath, and that it really does relax you if you do it right, and you know, you just be conscious of it at certain times, and it's helped me a lot, especially the last sort of couple of years.
Yeah, well, I was gonna bring up 2018. I was reading a great piece that I think either you've shadow written for Tony Wiebeck, or he's kind of written for you, where you were talking about in 2018, obviously COVID, and we'll get your thoughts on all of that as well. But you were playing through some injuries, which put a bit of pressure on you financially and mentally. You said there was obviously sort of a bit of a build up, and you've been battling some mental health stuff, and you know, you feel free to tell us as much or as little as you like, but maybe if you can just kind of give us an insight into that as well.
Yeah. So 2018 was a bit of a struggle for me. So the first half of the year, I'd done an injury in the gym, a pretty bad one, which put me out for a few months, and then I sort of got over that, and then I did another injury with just this random injuries kept popping up. And I had 3 in a row, which kept me out for about 6 to 8 months. That no one could sort of. Well, the third injury I had was an elbow thing, and I was seeing all the the best doctors, and you know, everyone went to Melbourne and tried to see the best down there, and no one could fix it. And so I'm just getting frustrated, really. And now that I look back at all of that, then puts pressure on yourself without you even knowing about it. And it's sort of, I got to a point where I was just in a bad way, mentally, like really bad, to the point where bad thoughts were popped up in my head, and I knew I had to do something about it. And anyone that's sort of dealt with mental health issues can resonate with that, and how hard it is to get yourself out of a bad spot when you're in it. So that year I sort of took a bit of time after what happened to me did. And I mean, it's not something that goes away. I'm still dealing with it now. It's been 4 years now from pretty much the day. And it's to be honest, mate, it's my first job now. Golf's my second job. That's the number one priority of my life, is to look after myself and make sure I'm, at peace, or or happy, or when I wake up, I do the things I need to do, if it be it meditation or a lot of breath work, go to the gym every day, just things that keep your mind healthy. Because I've just, especially since that sort of stuff happened to me, I've realized that, to be honest, nothing to me matters anymore other than that. That's as long as I'm happy and I feel good in myself. I've realized that nothing sort of external is going to fill that. I can find that within myself, and I've managed to do that. And I can, just, to be honest, I'm very proud of myself, just for, getting out of that and just keeping it at bay.
Absolutely, mate. And that's really well said as well, and such an important message as well. And I think, like, golf can be the best and worst thing for your mental health sometimes as well, right? Like, even, I know at that time you obviously weren't being able to get out and play, but for a lot of people who listen to this show, they if they are struggling, they do hop out on the golf course, and sometimes it's the best thing in the world, because you go out and you hit it really nicely, but then other times you play like shit, and it can kind of beat you up a little bit more. But I think, if particularly for us amateurs, right, playing off 20, if you go out and you just hit the ball around with your mates and have a beer, I don't think there's anything better than that. And
absolutely.
I'm sure even for yourself, just getting out with your mates and playing every now and then is really good for you.
Of course, mate. Yeah, there's nothing better for you if you don't. To be honest, if you don't do it for a job, and if you don't put that added pressure on yourself, golf's a great place to be out there on the course. So, but just going back on what I said before, even if anyone is listening and they are going through anything, I know I'm more than happy to have a chat about anything. I don't know who would reach out, but if anyone ever did want to reach out and have a chat, and even if it's not to me, just in general, if you feel like you can't talk to anyone, let me tell you, there's someone that will always listen to you, even if it's someone even if you ring someone and ring one of the the Lifeline or whatever it is, someone will listen to you, and there's plenty of help out there. You just got to realize that it's okay to talk about it.
Absolutely. We might put some numbers in the show notes of this episode as well, and people can reach out to you on the gram as well, which we'll give a bit of a shout out to. COVID, mate. Let's talk about the fun thing that was COVID. Obviously, I think in that same article, I've lost it now, but you were telling a story about in the airport. I think you might have been traveling with Chris Wood at the time, and I don't know, maybe if you know the story that I'm talking about, you can kind of recall it a little bit, if that might have been the start of COVID.
I think I'm not sure about the story. I think we were in Canberra at the time. We were just playing some pro-ams.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what was said in the article, but the only thing I would remember from that was just getting to the airport, and it was like we're in a ghost town in China or something. There was just literally no one in the airport.
Yep, that's it.
That was when obviously things started up in April or March of 2020, and we managed to get home. I don't know how many people on our flight, probably 7 or 8 people. I feel were on the flight to get home, and we were just sort of, it was an eerie feeling, and then to get home and everything obviously kick off after that. It was very weird.
You obviously, coupling the two stories together about what you've just told us, sort of about your mental health and the challenges of injury, to add COVID into that mix as well is obviously not a great recipe at all, right? Like, you've got your opportunity to earn income taken away from you. Like, how do you process that in the moment? Because realistically, it was a pretty kind of overnight decision that everything kind of went away. I remember, from a very selfish perspective, me and Kieran were sitting here going, like, what the fuck are we going to do for a podcast now? We've got nothing to talk about. And we're kind of like, we're okay. Like, we'll find some shit to talk about. We always do. But like, and then we started reaching out to players, and everyone was kind of like, we got no idea what's going on. Like, can you maybe contextualize that sort of time for us and give us an overview of how it all went down?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was just a weird time. And, when it all started kicking off, I was always one to not sort of worry about external stuff happening. But then it got to a point where I was like, oh, hang on, this is going to affect, my job and what I'm going to do. So overnight, like you said, it made you think differently. Like, hang on, this could just stop your work for the next 6, 12, however many months. And so, yeah, I did a few other things and, just did what I could for a couple of weeks. And lucky, like I said, lucky enough in Queensland, they still sort of had some events that we could go and play, which was good. So I think it sort of, for me personally, it sort of just put pressure on probably relationships more than anything at the time. And I was always, I'm just one to, if there's a tournament on somewhere, I'll go play it because I like sort of being on the road and playing golf. So, yeah, we were lucky enough to still sort of have some tour up here in Queensland. I know it wasn't the same down in Victoria or, any other state in Australia, but it wasn't sort of as bad for us, which was nice. And then by the end of 2020, they still had a couple of events here and there, and then we just went from there.
No, I guess no opportunity or chance to get on the tools or do anything like that. I mean, I remember having Aaron Wilkin on, I think, and he was telling me how he went and was building window frames or something. You weren't getting on the tools bricklaying or anything like that, were you, mate?
Mate, I was bricklaying for about 2 weeks.
Really? I was just saying that tongue in cheek.
No, yeah, I did a bit of bricklaying. I didn't actually put the bricks in, but yeah, it was. It's not my gig, mate. To be honest,
not good for your back, mate. You need your
back.
No,
it wasn't good. I injured myself. Actually, that's where one of the injuries came from. Sorry.
Right.
So I was just picking up I don't know what they are, all the bricks with the things you pick them up with, and I yanked it up and I actually did a nerve in my left forearm and I was out for 12 weeks. Just completely carked it. My forearm just gave way. And then I was like, well, if that's not a sign, I don't know what is to not even bother. It was a difficult sort of few months where everything sort of hit at once and I had a few things going on personally. But mate, to be honest, I'm just thankful now that that's all happened the way it did, and I've grown from it and I've learned from it, and I'm in a much happier place now.
It seemed as though, from the very small snapshot that I saw of it over here in WA, it seems as though the tour and everyone that's on the tour at the moment seems like they're pretty good mates in general. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you've got your differences with other people, but it seemed like everyone got on really well. I'm just wondering what that first event back post sort of COVID lull of 18 months where everyone came back, I guess it probably would have been the Aussie PGA, really. Was it almost a bit of like a reunion with everyone coming back together, getting the band back together?
Oh, mate, not really. Not really, because like I said, I still played pretty much every event I could in between, even if it was a pro-am here or there, all around, any state I could get to. So you sort of still see a lot of the same blokes at these events. And yeah, a lot of my good mates are golfers as well. So, if you're not playing golf with them at tours or at tournaments, you're like I've got a few mates back on the Goldie and Brizzy and that you hang out with. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was like a reunion, so to speak. More so just, it was. It's just good to see tournament golf back and big events. Yeah.
And good to have big crowds back as well. I mean, Kieran was over there for a few days at the Aussie PGA, and he said it was fantastic to see crowds back. And I guess, such an important part of it as well. It needs to be supported by the punters to get out there and get behind you guys as well. So that's also nice to see. What's the home track at the moment? Well, I mean, when you're at home, when you've got 5 minutes at home, mate, because you seem to be kind of gallivanting around everywhere as well up in Queensland. What's the home track?
Mate, I'm not a member anywhere. I haven't been for probably about 5 years, to be honest. My last membership was at Royal Pines when I lived down the Goldie.
Okay.
But since I've been back in Brisbane, I do predominantly, I practice out at Golf Central, the driving range out near the airport. And yeah, mate, to be honest, when I'm home, I don't really try and play too much golf. I'm one for the beach. I love just going to the beach and, just chilling out and not worrying about it, to be honest. So I'll do a bit of practice out at Brookwater here and there because I live about 15 minutes from Brookwater. But yeah, mate, when I'm at home, I try and do a lot of other things rather than play too much golf.
I spent some time over in Queensland for work a couple of years ago, 2020 actually, and got to play Royal Pines and Brookwater, and both courses beat the living shit out of me. Very difficult course, particularly Brookwater. If you miss the fairway there, you cooked. You've lost ball. I think Marshy played a charity event out there, and I think he lost 9 balls or something. So, which is one of the holes. So it's pretty impressive. Yeah,
that can happen. It's a difficult course, old Brookie, if you don't know where your ball's going.
Absolutely. Even Royal Pines, to be honest, it's cool to think, that's where one of our biggest tournaments was played. While I was there, that's kind of all I was thinking about. But it beat me up. There's a lot of water there, and if you've got a nasty slice like myself, a lot of water on the right-hand side.
On the right side, there is.
To notice. What's you mentioned there? You love the beach. What a question we do love asking everyone. What does Tim Hart do away from golf?
That would, mate. To be honest, it's the beach, or just hanging out with the boys. To be honest, that's literally what I do. I just love all my mates and just love just hanging out and just being in a good headspace. And I feel like just going to the beach or just doing something or the gym, or it's just something that's really good for my mental state. It makes me feel just really good. So, I go to the beach. I like throwing darts. That's like a hobby of mine. I'll stand there for hours and throw darts, and that's pretty fun. Other than that, not too much, to be fair.
Darts is a great hobby. I love that. Yeah.
It's
I love playing, but very, very bad at it.
Yeah, it's good fun. I got a good setup and good dartboard setup, and it's it's just just another thing to get your mind off everything and just try and throw a few 180s.
Now, our primary source of research is Instagram. I don't know if anyone's ever told you this before you jumped on here.
No,
so we like to scroll right back to the very first Instagram post that you put up. Looks nothing like you back in 2012 out at Eagle Farm race course there. So I don't know if the horses are horses are an interest, or if that's just kind of a 2012 phase that you were going through, the opportunity to drink some beers and maybe have a bet on the horses.
Yeah, mate. I'm trying to remember the photo. I don't quite recall it. It might be.
Were you wearing red sunglasses?
Red sunnies. Sunnies. Yeah, I do know. What a horrible pick. I don't know what I was thinking. Actually, just scrap the first sort of 6 years that I've put stuff up because it's a disgrace, to be honest.
There's some good ones in here as well, featuring one Mr. Dimmy Papadatos as well, who often comes up in quite a few nightclub photos, not just across your feed, but across everyone else as well. So he, once we did that activity with him, he swiftly went and deleted his very first post, which
did he?
Was quite an embarrassing one. So it was him I think in a pair of Speedos holding a big bottle of Belvedere vodka, and he told the story.
I was there. Yeah, I was there. I watched him win that competition.
Yeah. Did he come back for he was meant to come back for the final or something? I'm trying to recall. He won that heat, and then when he meant to come back for the final or something, I don't know how it all went down, but it was very funny at the time when he told us.
Yeah, mate, I don't quite recall either. I don't think he did come back for the final, but mate, that night was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
So was that photo. I wish I had a screenshot of it before it went, but that's gone into oblivion. We shall let you go, mate, and get to bed out in country Queensland. Congratulations again on the win over the weekend. Very, very good timing having you on. We wish you the very best for what's ahead in 22-23 as well, and hopefully look forward to seeing you over here in Perth from a personal perspective and everything for your golf as well, mate. So thanks for jumping on, having a chat to us.
No worries, mate. You're a legend. Cheers, mate.